Hello everybody, and welcome back to our Farming Simulator 25 map guide. Today we're going to be taking a look at Ladyhill. But before that, this video is brought to you by GoldenEye 48 and Raznak. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Ladyhill map can be found with the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu, and as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for all platforms. Now, in addition, this map is fairly small at 373 megabytes in size and is fully self-contained in the fact that it does not have any required mods. Let's go ahead and read some of the description. Welcome to Ladyhill, a real-life location in an area of Northern Ireland. This map is mostly just rural Irish farming with not much in the way of factories or productions, but it does have two large buildable areas to make your own. Now, we'll get to it in a little bit, but in fact, this map does have 3 productions pre-placed. 2 of them, though, you're going to have to buy before you can use those. It also has 8 small farms and 4 small farm areas, which can be bought, sold, bought again without the need to sell any placeables. The ownership of the placeables will change accordingly. Now, I do want to note that I had mixed results on the ability to buy, sell, and buy farmlands that were farms without having to sell things. Mixed results. So your mileage may vary based on which area you are. Also, this map has a cattle pasture mod that can be placed into any field or yard and removed again without disturbing or reshaping the land. It holds 200 cattle. It is free, which will be good for cattle rotation roleplay. Again, we're going to demonstrate it here on this map. I had mixed results. Definitely mixed results with respect to reshaping land, and I couldn't find the trigger to feed any of the cows in that area. So, again, mixed results, not sure what's going on there. I like the concept. Maybe the execution could be a little bit more refined. Again, your results may vary. I'd love to know your thoughts and experiences with this map and that cattle mod in the description below. This map has a new farm for FS25. Mud has been added to all field entrances. Custom Northern Irish plates, new reworked forests, grass-fed cows produce milk, 158 fields, 4 cattle sheds, 8 small farms, 4 small farm areas, 2 large buildable areas, 29 different custom houses, 30 different custom sheds, custom grass and meadow textures, a dirt bike racing track, field numbers matching farmland numbers, the ability to buy, sell, and buy again the same farmland with working placeables. Again, your mileage may vary. Custom lighting suited to Northern Ireland. Custom weather and temperatures. Again, suited to the location of the map. And the map author hopes you enjoy the map. Now, with that said, let's jump back over here to the map itself and take a little bit of a look around. Right here is where you land when you start to load up the map for the very first time. And tucked in behind or beside the silage bunker, well, we have several silage bales. And then we can just kind of look off in the distance and just take a look at that farmland. Now, as you might expect, a map that is based in Northern Ireland is going to be pretty strong with respect to the amount of grass that is pre-placed. In fact, all the yellow you see here on this map is pre-planted grass. So if we toggle grass on and off, you'll see a quite significant portion of the map is changing. So if you're not into grass farmlanding, well, this map might not be for you, or you've got a lot of plowing in your future. With respect to our fields that we own at the start, we start by owning farmland ID 169. That is the main starting farm in single player, and it's going to be $496,080 to buy in any alternate game mode. Should you choose to load this map up and not own the starting farm, you will start with all the starting machinery. All of the buildings will also be pre-placed, but you won't own any land. With respect to the other land that you do own in the starting mode where you do own the starting farm, we own fields 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 17, 16, 166, and 165. So quite a number of grass fields and a couple regular farming arable fields. Those look like those are pre-planted in barley. So you're going to be able to get your straw off of those. Now, with respect to the 8 other farms and the 4 small farm areas, I had mixed results in finding all 12 of these, assuming he means that there's actually 12. In fact, let me count up real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I came up with 10. So I'm missing 2, and I'm kind of taking a stab or a guess at the buildable areas, because when we get around to flying around the map, there's nothing really hard and solid with respect to where these building areas are. I'm kind of guessing based on the fact that there's a couple sets of farmlands that cost $0. So I feel like maybe those are going to be the building areas. And to that end, building area 182 is going to be one of those, which is going to be located right there. So 182 includes this forest, this kind of open wilderness area here, and includes the area down here where we have our animal dealer, and it's going to be able to be bought for $0. And then we have this area here, 180, which is kind of like a mine. It's dug into the ground, but there's nothing there. Typically, you see something that looks like this, and you've got piles of dirt, piles of gravel, and things that are pre-placed that if you buy the area, you can make use of. They don't exist here, but it's free. And I've got to guess that maybe this is a building site. Maybe if you put in a mining mod on PC, then you'd be able to make use of that in some way. Not my cup of tea, but maybe. So those are my 2 stabs as to where the buildable sites are. The other idea for a buildable site was Farmland ID 160. It's going to be $362,000 to buy. Or Farmland ID 159. It's going to be $82,000 to buy. So, yeah. And then we have the unbuyable land, which is Farmland 182. That is going to be everything else. And that's going to be $0 to buy as well. Now, with respect to the other farms, again, I've only come up with 10 of the 12 that, according to the description, exist. We have an arable farm at Farmland ID 173. That's going to be just south of our main starting farm. We can buy that for $297,504. We also have an arable farm at Farmland ID 172 to the extreme south of the map. And again, it's going to be an arable farm for $184,724. We have a cow farm at Farmland ID 168 that can be bought for $1,036,000. We have another cow farm that can be bought at Farmland ID 170 that is going to be buyable for $880,000. We have a cow farm at Farmland ID 175, and it's going to be buyable for $854,496. We have an area, Farmland ID 174, that I think is one of those small farms. We have a Farmland ID 171 that is also buyable. That's going to be $346,464. I'm going to flag it as a small farm because it doesn't have a pre-placed silo. But we'll take a look at that when we get to looking at all of the possible farm areas. And then we also have Farmland ID 177, which is down here just to the west of our starting farm for $90,504. Like I said, I believe there may be some others scattered around here, there, and yonder that I just didn't find because I found 10 of what I believe to be 12. With respect to our precision farming soil map, this map is making use of the Riverbend Springs soil map. So let's go ahead and expose that and take a look. You can see that exposed here. We've got that big bend up like we have on the Riverbend Springs of the loamy sand. And then we've got this offshoot. And again, if you haven't seen my precision farming videos, I run through all of the precision farming soil maps that are included with the precision farming mod. And this is indeed the Riverbend Springs soil map. We take a look at our crop counter. We do have the standard FS25 crop counter available on this map. It would be nice to have seen a custom schedule here with respect to our crops. We do have custom weather and custom lighting but it would be nice to see it change up with respect to when we plant and seed. With respect to our animal areas, and I've gone ahead and purchased all of the farmlands that I think are going to be in that 8 and 4 count. So some of these sheds are going to be tied to those other farms at this point. We have the Potter cattle shed. We have the Rough Lane cattle shed, and this one is here at our starting farm. And we have 42-month-old Holstein and 42-month-old Brown Swiss. We also have a bit of TMR, or sorry, a bit of grass already in the food trough, which is good to see, as well as a bit of straw. And we do start out with a fair amount of slurry. So you will be able to do some organic fertilization right from the start as well, which is really cool to see added. We have the MCKE owned cattle shed. And then we also have the O'Neill cattle shed. Now this, I feel like that's a typo. I feel like it's supposed to be make own cattle shed, because this is the same name of the Placeable that exists when you put the Placeable down that was mentioned in the description for cattle rotation roleplay. With respect to contracts, we do have contracts available on this map. And we also have our new contracts, because here we have a wood transport. We have 3 productions pre-placed. We have the dairy, which is owned at the start. We also have available the sawmill. And if we buy the land associated with the BGA, then we'll have the biogas plant as well. The biogas plant is going to be located here at Farmland ID 181. And we can buy it for, well, $0. So let's go ahead and pick that up. And now we have the biogas plant right there. With respect to sell points, I counted 4 sell points on this map. That is excluding the 3 productions. We're going to run down through all of our vehicles here in a little bit. We do start out with the Husqvarna chainsaw. And as far as our stats go, it says there are 25 collectibles on this map, but I do not believe that there actually are, because I did run the command to show the collectibles, because I always like to go around and pick a couple up, see if they are custom or not, and I didn't see any dots appear on the map. That would be typical if collectibles actually did exist. Let's take a look at our starting fleet. We start out with the Kodiak SUV. We also have the 3650 and John Deere small tractor. We have a pair of those. And then we have the John Deere 6R145 medium tractor. We have our front loader arms. And for the front loader arms, we have a pallet fork, fork with grapple and bell spike. And then we also have a forklift available to us. We've got the Rudolph TDK 301 RP trailer. We have the Servo 25 plow and the Eco Cultivator 300. We have the Una 3003 seeder. We have our Super Cease 800 slurry tanker. And then we have our harvester, which is the Evian 450 from Kloss. We have the Vardio 620 grain header. And we have the Nardi N40BX header trailer. We have the Stego 485 Pro silage compaction roller. We also have the Semez Z2 840H windrower, the Faro 410ED forage wagon, the Semez XT390 mower, and the Pottinger Alpine Hit 4.4H tedder. We have the FarmTech DPW 1800 flatbed trailer, and we have the Case RB 456 HD Pro round baler. We have the MKS 8 liquid tanker. We have the Primor 15070M straw blower, and then the RA142 TMR mixing wagon. And then we have the NOAA TTW 140 animal transport trailer. And that wraps it all up with respect to our own machinery. And like I said earlier, we do own this machinery regardless if we own the farm or not when we start the map. With respect to mods or DLCs, this map does not have any pre-built or customized vehicles or implements. While we're taking a look at things, let's take a look at build mode, because this map does mention that it does have some animal area that is customized for animal rotation. We have pretty standard sheds here, as well as silo extensions and such. But I want to come down here to animals, and here we have the MCKEON McCone cattle shed, okay? And it's $4,000, which I thought the description said it was free. No. Okay, it didn't say anything about being free. Yeah, it's free. It holds 200 and is free. This is not free. It's $4,000. So if we take a look, horses, well, no. Pigs, no. Sheep, no. Chickens, no. Bees, no. Right? I mean, this is where it would be. These are all pretty standard. So let's go find some place that's relatively flat. Over here, just south of this sell point, we've got some land that is relatively flat. Right? You all can agree this is relatively flat. Well, let's go ahead and buy this real fast, and then we'll put this shed down. All right, I bought it just to reinforce that we're talking about a flat surface here. Let's go ahead and make sure we are talking about something very, very flat. All right, so we've completely flattened that area. Go back. We'll put grass in here. Even though when we place our thing, we're going to do our meadow grass anyway. Okay, and we're going to just put it right here. Do you want to customize the fence? No, we don't need to worry about that. Do you want to put... Yes. Okay. Done. Did it. There you go. We get this little bit of fencing. Now here it didn't change. But if we come over here to some place that's not flat. Like this area here. Clearly this isn't flat. But this would be a really cool area to roleplay our rotating of cows, right? So let's go and put this thing down here. Put it right here. Right. And there. So let's customize our fence real fast. And we now have, I don't know why, but we now have this giant mound. Sometimes if you place it, you'll get a giant divot. Other times you'll get a mound. And if it's relatively flat, then you won't get anything. But if we look at our trigger here, we have two triggers going on. And let me jump over here and show you what's going on. The first trigger is going to be our info pop-up. 202 cows. The second trigger is going to be where we can buy cows and put the cows in here. So let's get a Angus. Single Angus, so we know which one is which. And we come to our animal screen. We have our Angus, our MCKON cattle shed, right? And it says, well, we have our food requirements, slurry, manure, straw. Doesn't say anything about milk, which is fine. But I struggle to know where to feed these guys. So if we come back, for example, with our feed mixer, and we walk into here, which is where we were able to buy the cows, we're not given the option to unload our TMR. So I think this is a great idea, but I think something's failed in the execution. And I'm not really sure what would have failed in the execution between pre-Mod Hub submission testing. I assume that this was thoroughly tested before it was sent to the Mod Hub. And, well, we kind of know that the Mod Hub didn't really seem to test actual gameplay things. So, no shocker there that the Mod Hub didn't maybe catch anything going on with respect to that. Now, with respect to the rest of our farm here, well, we got a lot going on. I just want to get back to where we were here. So we have a silage bunker right here where we started. We have our silage bales. We have our leveler there. We do have a trigger here for a manure heap. So assume our manure is going to spawn right there. Not maybe the best place to be putting our silage bales if we got to work around our manure all the time, but okay. We have our trigger for slurry. We have our milk trigger right here. And then we have our animal buy for 80. And this is where we're going to find all 80 of our cows at the start. Calves. We have our food trough pre-placed here. Maybe use a little rework to get that food actually not floating there, but at any rate. All right, sorry for the cut, but I had to figure out what was tagged and get out of that so we won't have that constantly showing up. At any rate, we've got a nice pull-through shed here for some of our machinery. Some of the custom buildings that were built for the map. Here we have our silo, dump, and fill point. Some more really cool sheds. We do also have some hay bales pre-placed here at the start. We have a workshop trigger. And, well, it's working with our harvester and our tractor. So our tractor is located right there. Then our harvester was over here. So we got quite a large workshop trigger area. This is just a little room to go into to be all by yourself, I guess. Some more nice sheds. Now, it's kind of interesting. We got this really narrow passage to get from the front of the farmyard to the back of the farmyard. Possibly our farm helpers' residence, and then we have our own farmhouse here that we're not able to go into. And I'm also struggling to find a sleep trigger here, so I've got to wonder if maybe we are supposed to put our own down. Given the fact that there are so many starting farms on this map, it wouldn't surprise me too much to the fact that we would need to put our own down. If we get a little bit of altitude now, we can see our starting farm location here. And if we pull up the menu or the PDA, now we can go around and take a look at all of these other farm areas. Let's make our way over to farmland ID 173, which is just behind the main starting farm. We would come in off the road here between fields 15 and 14. Once again, we have our farmhouse. None of these have sleep triggers. The little sheds are on the back. Got a long pull-through shed here. Some more storage. We do have our farm silo, our dump and fill point there. And then that is pretty much this farm. Now, with respect to farm customization, I was not successful on customizing much at all of the starting farm. I was able to sell the animals. After I sold the animals, I was able to sell the cow area, but the buildings remained. On all these farms that have a silo, I was able to sell the silo, but for the most part, the buildings remained. And if we come here and just go into build mode and just for funsies, try to sell this, we were successful there, which is good. So we can sell it, we can buy it. But again, your results are going to vary rather significantly between the various farms. It may be tied to things like the animal pens. I'm not sure. So let's try to sell this one. Again, we were successful there, which is good. But I think it was this one over here. I was trying to sell some of these, and I was getting pop-ups. There you go. 170, you can't sell the land because you own objects on it. It may have just been my bad luck that literally this is the only one that's affected like that, and this was the one that I tried before I started recording this. So again, your mileage may vary. We've shown three farms we can buy, 2 farms we can buy and sell, 1 farm we can't because it's got placeables on it. And since we know we can't necessarily sell everything, we may be stuck at a point where we buy a farm that we can't sell because we can't sell a building that is permanently placed. Continue to make our way south and east. We're going to come to farmland AD 172. And this is going to be another arable farm. Come off the road. We have our farmhouse. We have some sheds. Our farm silo. Continue to make our way to the west. We're going to come over here to our biogas plant. We do have the ability to sell the biogas plant if we own it, but the light poles that are here, one there, one there, one there, they remain. They are not sellable. So the overall usefulness of this area is a little suspect because you will have to work around those light poles. This is the animal dealer, which I said also could be part of that buyable land because we do have a good chunk over here that we could put down. We'll be back to this area later on. We're mainly going to focus right now on farmlands. So to that end, let's make our way up to farmland ID 179. And this area is one of the farmlands that wasn't initially on my list. But I kind of looked at the farmland ID values. We started with farmland ID 169. 168 is a cow farm. 170 is a cow farm. 171 was one of those little farm areas. So I got to thinking, maybe from 169 up to 182 are all either small farms, farm areas, or buildable areas. So I went ahead and bought everything between 169 and 182. So here we have 179. Not a lot going on here. It looks kind of run down, but you can kind of buy it and improve the area. 175, which is going to be a cow area, is located right here. A little area where we can store some manure. We have our milk trigger there. We're a food trough here. Our straw plane is present, indeed. We have our slurry trigger as well. We have our silage bunker. And then with respect to our animal buy trigger, it's kind of hidden. You'd think it'd be over here where the rest of the stuff is, maybe at this gate. But no, it's not. It's actually quite removed. It's over here. So there we have our animal buy trigger. And we're going to be able to put 200 cows in this particular animal pasture. So again, it's kind of removed from where the farm entrance is and all the other triggers. Really would have made more sense, in my mind, to have it right here just so it has everything kind of together with it. The next farm is farmland ID 174. That's going to be right down the road from the cow farm. It is going to be set up as an arable farm because we do have a farm silo. Again, just a few buildings. We have our farm silo, a little house there where we could place a sleep trigger. Here we have the area that I kind of referenced as like a mine, right? It's recessed down the ground, but there's nothing down here. At least nothing that I can really detect or see. So what this is useful for, I don't know. This is where the motorcycle course is. At first I thought, is that the motorcycle course? But I don't think so. This definitely feels like it's more like the motorcycle track. To the west of this interesting ravine area, we have another small farm, farmland ID 171. And then we have farmland ID 176, which is right here. We have farmland ID 170. Which is located right here. And this one is also set up as a cow farm. So we have our slurry trigger. We have our milk trigger around the back. We have a more logically placed animal delivery trigger for the Potter cow shed for 200 cows. We have our food trough, and then we're going to have our manure heap over on this side of the cow pasture or cow barn. We have a silage bunker around the back. And then a large farmhouse kind of complex. Here we have farmland ID 178. Again, just a house, a little shed. This is that buildable area that I mentioned. A little bit of light forest to clear this out. You can do all kinds of things with it. And then up here is a potential building site. Maybe. Just kind of guessing. Over here. Now let's check farmland ID 168, which is an arable farm located right here. One of the largest of those arable farm areas. Actually, this is also set up as a cow area. I'm looking at my notes. So we have our cow delivery point for 266 cows. You can definitely see where our straw trigger is going to be. We have our food trough inside of here. We have our milk trigger. We have our farm silo around the other side of all these buildings. There's our slurry point. We have our silage bunker. Tight yards, tight yards. Again, that's kind of the par for the course for a map of this intended region. Then we have our farm silo and then another silage bunker. So farmland ID 168. With the small farm area, farmland ID 177. It is located right here. And then we should be making our way back now to our starting farm, which is located right here. Now, it won't take long to take a look at the other sell points and productions on the map because, like I said, there aren't too terrible many of them. We have our main starting farm located right here, and our first sell point is actually going to be just to the west of our starting farm. It'll be located right here, just north, or I guess I should say just south of where we try to use that placeable cattle pasture. We've got our sell point located right here, and that is identified on the map as the McKinney distribution sell point. The dairy that we own at the start is a little bit further down the road. Between fields 1 and 2, we have our lane for the dairy, and it's a small triangular building. So we have our dump point there. We have our pallet spawn point because, well, the dairy actually already has product for us to pick up. We have our interactive icon there. We've talked about the BGA already. That would be the other production, or one of the other 2 productions that's available on the map. So if we make our way around the road here, then down south, we'll have the lane right beside this farm that we already took a look at, which will split off to take us either to the animal dealer or the dairy. So the animal dealer or the BGA. So we have the BGA there. We have our animal dealer here. So we have our animal dealer buy point right there. Kind of a big area, almost wasted to the point that it's just to pick up or sell animals. Well, sad we don't have other things going on here. And then just north of that, we have the farmer's market sell point for our goods and grain. So we're bale there. Then around the back, we're going to have our placeables, our pallets and all that. We made our way to the north, just ahead of what I'm calling kind of the quarry area. I really don't understand what the purpose of that area is. We have 2 sell points. We have our production in the lumber mill that we can buy if we don't already own it. So we have pallet spawn points for our various lumber mill products. We have our dump point for our logs, our wood cell trigger, our interactive icon to buy the place and interact with it as well. We also have our stone crusher at this particular location. And then our last sell point is going to be located over here at Blevins Transport and Sell. It's going to be north of Field 44. So we have the dump point for that located right here. And that should pretty much be all the farms, all the small farm areas. My best guess on the 2 building plots. All of the sell points and productions that are pre-placed here on the map. Now I feel that the map might need a little bit of tender loving care. Maybe an update in order to rectify a few visual things like straw plains or food areas that are floating, not conforming to the land. And then this concept of this cow pasture that's supposed to be freeable placeable, but seems to cost $4,000. Doesn't seem to have any food triggers or other things associated with it. And, well, I'm not really sure if it's working out as expected. So a couple little things to maybe look at getting corrected. If you're not going to use the cow pasture area, you don't mind the straw plain floating, you don't mind the food trough floating, or a couple of the other area things that we have kind of found in our general walkthrough of the map, then it might be worth a good play now as opposed to later. Until next time, happy farming.